My name is James Capozzi. I'm the chairman of orthopedics at Winthrop Hospital, and we started this MiniMed school program. And at that program, a lot of people said, "We like what we're doing here. Can we come up with some other ideas? Can we do some other conferences, symposiums, whatever?" And so we said, there's this new legislation out there called Obamacare. None of us know anything about it, myself included. So we thought we'd put on this kind of symposium and try to teach all of us something about what might be coming down the road for all of us. All right, so let's get started with the program here. All right, so all of you know that sometime in March of 2010, President Obama signed into effect the Affordable Care Act. And basically what he planned to do with that was to expand medical coverage to about 32 million more people in this country, promise to decrease healthcare spending, and promise to reform the healthcare delivery system. So those are the promises made by the program. About 4 seconds after that was signed, the protest signs went up all over the place on both sides of the coin, both for and against Obamacare. So tonight we have some phenomenal speakers. All right, we have Amy DeBartolomeo-Cody, who's the president of a company called Premier Benefits Plan, and her firm specializes in employee benefits. Amy has her master's from George Washington University, and she's also on the board of directors for the American Red Cross. So we should be hearing a lot from her about how this plan is going to affect all of us as both employees and as citizens. All right. We have Chris Kutner, who's here. Chris is a partner at Rivkin Radler. Chris received his law degree from St. John's University and his MBA from Hofstra, and he's a specialist in healthcare law. He's represented physicians, hospital, managed care organization, and benefits administrators for a number of years. He's also on the advisory board and the board of directors of a whole bunch of institutions and programs. So Chris, thanks for being here. Amy, thanks for being here. And then on my left here is Brian Malone. Brian is our director of the pharmaceutical services at the hospital, does a phenomenal job running our pharmacy services at Winthrop. He received both his undergraduate and his graduate degrees at St. John's, and he's also a professor of pharmacy at St. John's. And we have Brian here to give us the whole pharmaceutical end of what this whole bill and whole proposal will mean as far as what we're entitled to in the way of drugs and what's going to happen with all of that.
Let me begin by just commenting on the breadth of the law. The law was signed, as Dr. Capozzi said, in 2010, and aspects of the law went into effect 6 months after, beginning in September, and they continue all the way until 2018. The centerpiece, as I said, of the law is approaching us. 2014, when the individuals, consumers, citizens must obtain insurance with certain exemptions or face a penalty. Also, part of the mandate to require individuals to get insurance is the establishment of health insurance exchanges, either at the state level or at the federal level. Now, the time allotted tonight, we can only, basically scratch the surface of Obamacare because there are so many aspects of it that apply to individuals, employers, hospitals, physicians. It covers the spectrum. In full disclosure, when Obamacare came out, and people, whenever I say about Obamacare, they assume that I'm against it. But when it came out, I was not a fan. I worked in the health insurance industry for 8 years. So as I was reading the provisions, I knew that when you expand coverage, when you eliminate caps, what's going to happen? The cost is going to go up. So the other aspect of it is there's cost shifting to the individual. So not only are the premium going to go up, but your percentage or your piece of it is also going to go up. I'm telling you the bad parts of it right now. It's also prompted consolidation of health insurance companies. The company that I worked for was merged with a larger HMO, health insurance company, and they merged with another. And we've seen that with United and Oxford and Aetna and the Blues and Vitra and HIP and GHI. So what I see happening as a result of that is the insurance companies they have a lot of leverage, and they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, a lot more aggressive in their administration of insurance products, in their denial of claims. It's going to be tougher on physicians. It's going to be tougher on hospitals. It's a tough environment for medical providers nowadays. But the law appears to be here to stay. And there are good aspects of the law. such as making sure everybody has health insurance, not waiting until an individual is very, very sick and then goes to the emergency room, and that's the wrong site for the care. There's a big piece in the Affordable Care Act about fraud and waste. Now, with a $1 trillion industry, you're going to have some bad apples, and all it needs is a few bad apples to skim some money, and all you have to do is read the newspapers. There's healthcare fraud going on throughout the country. The other positive aspect is it encourages preventative care and wellness programs by eliminating co-payments. We're going to talk a little bit about the reform, the mandates that are going into effect January 1 of next year, the individual and employer. We're going to talk about the exchanges, which I find fascinating because none exist yet. We're going to talk about the coverage expansion and the impact on premium, and the cost, the administrative requirements on employers and individuals, cost impacts, and then we're going to hear from Amy. This is her business. She's going to tell you, from the front lines, what employers and individuals are saying. Now, the law was signed in March of 2010. The lawsuits happened immediately thereafter, all over the country. In just over 2 years, which is unheard of, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, heard the issue. And I was dead wrong. I thought the individual mandate would be struck down. I didn't think government could force somebody to spend money on insurance, but I was wrong. So the Supreme Court upholds the law, and so it's here to stay. Part of the law requires states to establish health insurance exchanges. 33 states decided, nope, we're not going to establish our own. We'll let the federal government establish an exchange, and we'll use it. 17 states elected to either coordinate an exchange with a neighboring state or establish their own. Governor Cuomo, by executive order, directed the establishment of an exchange in New York. And it's currently, there's a website up, I was looking at it today, but it's going to be very interesting in the months ahead, because if you think about what's required to establish an exchange and be able to enroll somebody, establish eligibility, understand their financial ability, whether they qualify for Medicaid, whether they qualify for the bronze plan, all sorts of information needs to be gathered, tax information. It's a huge endeavor. And think about the many languages that we speak in state. And we have to have available somebody that can take the information based upon any language. Now, the individual mandates and the employer mandates, as I said, go into effect January 1 of this coming year, 2014. And the individual mandate is, unless you're exempt for religious reasons or you just can't afford it, you don't make enough money, you must buy health insurance. And the exchanges are supposed to enable that, facilitate that. The employer mandate is same concept. Large employers, 50 or more, with 50 or more employees, must offer insurance to their employees or pay a penalty. Now, large employers now, because this is the time to decide or determine whether they're going to have 50 or more employees, and those employers that are hovering around 50, they're using Amy, and what do we do? Do we lay off some people? Do we go under? Do we have part-timers? How does that all work? It's very complicated. Individuals that qualify, that must buy it, that don't, in 2014, the tax penalty is $100, right? $94? $95. And it goes up to a couple $100, and I think in 3 years it goes to $600. So there's not a, if you're faced with spending $100 on a penalty for 2014, or buying a plan, which we don't know what the cost of them, what the cost of the plans will be yet. But a typical plan for a family is going to be $20,000. For an individual, it's going to be close to $10,000. Now the exchanges, New York's is called New York Health Benefit Exchange. You can Google it. It seems operational. There are no products there yet. There's a rush to have this exchange. It's supposed to be up and running by October 1 so that they can start enrolling for coverage beginning January 1. it remains to be seen if they're going to be ready. The idea on the exchanges is it's going to be a one-stop shop where individuals can look at four plans: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And they're going to have various coverage options, they're going to have various cost sharing, and they're supposed to be staggered in price. So individuals, small business can go to the exchange, figure out what plan fits their needs best, and then enroll through the exchange. The exchange is also supposed to be able to take telephone calls and also be available to take one-on-one interviews and similar to the way Medicaid is handled in New York now with, they call them FEs, facilitated enrollers, that are on the street corners in New York when you're trying to, do you have health coverage? No? Well, come on in. We'll take some information and we'll try to determine if you're eligible. There is also very difficult task of determining, based upon an individual's income, whether they're entitled to premium subsidies. If they're entitled to government money so that they can obtain coverage, that's part of the challenge of the workers of the exchange. From my client's perspective, healthcare providers, the question is, we have these products offered through the exchange. What are the physicians going to be compensated for rendering care through these products? There's been some dialogue and some concern that it's going to default to the Medicaid rate. And if you know anything about the Medicaid rate, it's bare bones. There's a lot of providers, healthcare providers, that just refuse to take it because they'll be in practice to lose money. It doesn't cover their overhead. And in some of the contracts that I'm reviewing for hospitals and for faculty practices of hospitals, the payers, the managed care companies, they're very smart. They're putting in provisions that when there is an established exchange, you as a provider that is entering into this participation agreement, you agree to participate in the exchange. And clients are saying, hold up, we want to understand what the reimbursement is before we agree to that. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Amy, who's going to talk about the expansion of coverage and the impact of that on premium.